Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the incredible communication toolkit of a legendary basketball coach, Sherri Coale. We're going to look at her powerful methods for building what she calls radical connection and show you how these ideas can honestly transform any team, whether you're on a court or in an office.
Here, this is the key to everything. So often, even the best leaders with the best intentions totally miss what their team members are really thinking and feeling. The potential's right there, but it's locked away because no one is really listening.
Well, Coach Coale didn't just cross her fingers and hope for better communication. Nope, she built a system for it. She came up with 3, honestly, pretty powerful tools to get to the hidden truths within her team and build a culture that was basically unbroken. Okay, let's break them down.
First things first, we've got to understand the problem that Coale's methods are designed to solve. And it's this: invisible gap, right? This disconnect that can exist between even the most caring leaders and their teams.
A leader might be thinking, hey, my door is always open. But inside, a team member is thinking, I have no idea how to even start that conversation. A coach sees what looks like a great practice, but a player is just silently falling apart inside. This gap between what you see and what's real, that's where performance dies and potential just evaporates.
So the big question is, how do you close that gap? Well, Coale's first tool is surprisingly simple. It's kind of old school, actually. She found that the simple act of writing, of putting pen to paper, could just slice right through all the usual performative "I'm fine" check-ins and get to the real, unfiltered truth.
And the process itself is, beautifully simple. After every single game, players get a sheet of paper, and they're asked to write how they feel. Not a play-by-play, not a tactical breakdown, but their raw emotions. But here's the crucial part. The coach reads every single sheet and writes back, creating this private, powerful, ongoing conversation.
And get this, the insight goes way beyond just the words. Coale says she can tell immediately if a player is down or angry or hurt just by looking at their handwriting. The pressure of the pen, how big the letters are. It's like an instant emotional barometer for her entire team.
And this, right here, just perfectly shows you how powerful this is. A coach might assume a player who barely played is furious, but their note says, "I'm thrilled for the team." Or a player who looked great out there for 10 minutes writes, "I am not in a good place mentally right now." This tool just obliterates the gap between assumption and reality. It allows for a real conversation.
Coale even used writing to see the bigger picture. She asked her returning players for advice to their freshman self. And you know what? The answers were never about skills. No one ever wrote, "Practice your mid-range jumper more." It was always about the internal stuff, trusting yourself, not being afraid, letting people in. And that realization that the biggest hurdles are always internal, that leads us straight to her second tool.
Okay, so writing gives you these incredible private insights, but what about in a face-to-face meeting? This next tool is all about breaking through those surface-level answers to get to the absolute core of what's holding someone back.
I want you to think about a typical one-on-one. Someone might start talking about a challenge and they get kind of close to the real issue, but then they stop, they pull back. And that moment right there is when most leaders just accept the answer and move on, and they miss the entire breakthrough.
Coale pushes right past that stopping point with this one simple but unbelievably powerful question. But the real magic, it isn't in just asking it once.
The key is persistence. You ask, they give you an answer, and then you just gently ask again. Okay, but what are you really afraid of? You just keep peeling back the layers until you finally get to the thing, that root fear that's holding them back. And here's the most amazing part. You don't need to have the answer to their fear.
Your job is not to fix it. It's to listen, it's to understand with real compassion, and to create an environment that's so safe that the simple act of them saying the fear out loud can start to make it disappear. Just saying it is the first step to beating it.
Okay, so we've got private written insights and these game-changing one-on-one breakthroughs. But how in the world do you scale that kind of vulnerability to an entire team? Well, that brings us to the final tool in the kit, the circle up.
Now, this was not some top-down coach-led meeting. It actually evolved to run itself. A player would stand up and state a weekly goal, and immediately a teammate would jump in and say, "I got you. I'll defend you in practice every day to help you get there." And just like that, you've got peer alliances, you've got shared ownership, and this amazing culture of accountability.
So what's the end result of all this, soft work, all the writing and the vulnerable questions? It creates what Coach Coale calls a seared team, one that's been forged together in the fire of honesty.
And you might think this takes away from practice time, but the impact was immediate, it was profound, and it was directly tied to their performance.
I mean it. The team's performance on the court got better right away. In fact, players later said that the single hardest day of practice all year was that very first circle up, a day where they didn't touch a basketball, not once. Instead, they just sat in a room and learned how to be real with each other.
This is what it's all about. At the end of that season, a junior player, someone who'd already had a ton of success, said, "This was the best year ever. I would do anything for these guys." See, these tools don't just build better players. They build these deep, meaningful connections that, as Coale says, just sear them together.
And this, right here, this is the ultimate takeaway from her entire philosophy. We usually think that great team chemistry is this happy thing that happens after you start winning. But what Coale's work proves is that it's the exact opposite. That connection, that foundation of trust and vulnerability, that's the catalyst. That's the thing that unlocks a team's true potential in the first place.
So that leaves us with one final thought. In your team, in your company, maybe even in your family, what truths are just sitting there, waiting for a safe space to finally be heard? And are you the one who's going to create that space for them?